Hi, ladies. We are back, and it is our Spotlight Tuesday, and I am so excited. We have beautiful, lovely, vivacious firecracker Ashlee Stratton with us today. Hi, Ashlee.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
It's so fun. She is Disciple Thought Leader alumni, and we are so happy. It just feels like old home, and we were
I
all
know.
one of our DTLC ladies. She had a big event, Louise's Garden Brunch, that she does each year. Gorgeous, celebrating and honoring her mother who passed, and doing it in her gorgeous garden. We all got to see each other there. It was just like old home week. We were just sharing that. It's so fun to see one another. So I'm excited to share with you about sweet Ashlee and her journey. If you are a mom or a woman and you're busy and crazy, which is all of us, and wanting to still be intentional about those goals, to have a life that matters and that's meaningful every day, and not just go down through your checklist and not just do the things and making it happen every day and then starting all over again. If you're wanting to feel this intentional creation of your life through this joyful, enjoyable goal setting, Ashlee is your gal. So let me share a little bit about her, and then let's get started. She's going to give you some tools today. We're going to find out some of her personal journey, and then what she found helped most with women through her interviews that she's done, and also in the way that she's coaching and speaking to them. So award-winning motivational speaker Ashlee Stratton speaks at women events and retreats, teaching women the tools they need to create the life they desire. And with a background in performing, she feels most at home on stage, and she is fantastic, motivating, inspiring, and the content is thought and life-changing. She's a certified speaker and Disciple Thought Leader Ambassador through the Connie Sokol Speaking Academy, and she rocked it. And she hosts a podcast series on the Purpose Filled Life Show, where you can hear more of her message, and we have those right on tap. Purpose Filled Life, check it out. She also shares her messages and brings to her audiences her latest information from recently completing a global leadership training from a company called Becoming Your Best. And along with speaking, she also MCs events, brings women together through private networking events, and she'll share more about that. She has one upcoming, and it's sold out like that fast. Oh my gosh. And especially enjoys when she is connecting with her family, her husband, Rob, and 4 children. Also, she loves pickleball, chocolate chip cookies, and the gospel of Jesus Christ. All right, welcome. So let's get started. A lot of moms probably starting off with this, hearing this is like, oh, my goal is just to make it through the day and maybe get a nap, right? Just to survive. So talk to us about why it's important that moms, especially with littles or with, adolescents, with even young adults, why is it important for us to have goals?
It's so important, first of all, because I feel like it fills us up in a way that the dishes and laundry don't. And sometimes it's so wonderful and nice to have an outlet that is just yours, that is just something outside of motherhood. Even if it's just a fitness goal, like you're just like, want to go for a walk for 10 minutes every single day, just something that can get your brain shifted in a different direction. I feel like then in turn, you show up as a better mom when you're actually pursuing something that fills you up and fills your cup. Because as moms, we're constantly giving, and filling everybody else's cup until it's full, until ours is depleted, excuse me. And sometimes I feel like the tent pole, I'll tell my husband this, I feel like the tent pole in a tent. And if I move and leave the tent, everything else is going to collapse, right? But sometimes we have to switch out who's holding up the tent pole. And so we can leave the tent and go explore nature and do our thing and be filled and then come back inside the tent, So sometimes I feel like that tent pole, but being able to have my goals and my dreams, working on those, I feel like it fills me up. So then when I am home, when I am mothering, I show up as a better mom. And then secondly, I also feel like you can help other people. And so many of us have been through different things. We've had different trials. We've learned different skills throughout our life. And then we can in turn share those and build other people's lives up better when we're pursuing our goals. So I feel like those two things are really key and important to goal setting.
Absolutely. And when you were talking about being able to get refreshed, I think it's so important that we recognize we have a limited finite amount of energy and capacity, and that's as it should be. Then we're relying on the Savior, then we're relying on tools and wisdom and seeking it out of the best books, right? That we are to make choices with our time and energy and prioritize those things. And as we do those wonderful things that fill us up, we come back with a renewed energy. And we're also teaching our kids. When I go and start doing my paint by numbers, like my painting, I don't do it by itself, but paint by numbers, they start we did it one day, I pulled it out and everybody started sitting around the table and started doing the same thing. We influence our families by the very goals that we set and the people that we come through that. So I agree, this taking intentional time to go and get restored, that we do come back as better versions of ourselves and refreshed and ready to be with them. So for women who are thinking, I really want to do those goals, and I hear what you're saying and I believe you, but
Mhm.
the reality is so hard. What are some tips and tools that you have for just getting started on easy goal setting that would give them that confidence and that ability to go, I can do that? And that made me feel joyful.
Right. I think the first thing you need to do is to sit down and make a list, like an actual handwritten list of goals that you have, and let your mind run wild. Because Zig Ziglar said the first in his book Goals, he said the first step to goal setting is just letting your mind run wild and making a wild goals list. And I remember one time coming on a webinar of yours, Connie, and you said to sit down and just think if time and money weren't an issue, and I'd even add confidence. If time and money and confidence weren't an issue, what would you do and why? And just let your mind run wild with that. I think sometimes as mom, we feel like, as mothers, we feel like we can't do that. Or we're like, we feel trapped and we're like, who am I to do this? Or why should I be able to pursue my goals? I should only be mothering and not doing anything else. But I feel like God wants us to use our spiritual gifts. He wants us to use our talents to bless children on this earth and to even help gather Israel. And I feel like when we use our gifts to do that, so many wonderful things can come about. And if we can just start writing those down, and what are those? Sometimes I think we'll start to realize sometimes that's where the adversary gets us the hardest, is we want to try and hide those things and not use those gifts. But if we can just sit down, make that wild list, that would be the first thing I do. It feels so freeing. If you've never done it before, if you're like, I don't even know where to start, where to begin, that's where I'd begin. Just making that wild list. That's one of the first things I did several years ago. And that's what got me on the path that I am today, truly, is sitting down, letting my mind run wild, not letting anything hold me back. And I was like, wow, this is what I really want to do. I really want to speak. And I felt called also in my soul to do that. So I would begin there if you don't know where else to start.
That is such a great idea. And I think the power of writing it down, it makes it real. It puts it forefront in your mind and keeps it there. Because I don't know about you, but as moms, I feel like that distraction, and I'm going into one and then someone's asking me a question, I get interrupted, I don't send that text, blah, blah, and I'm like this all the time. So even the things that I want to do, I can't even remember what they are if I don't have it in my mind. And it's funny because there's a perfect example. Okay, if you don't know, Ashlee is an amazing pickleball player, and her husband is an amazing pickleball player. He even has a sponsor, and like he's doing it full on, right? With Ashlee's complete sport. The two of them could be like a couple playing pickleball. That good. Anyway, I had told her a couple years ago, I was like, I still want to play pickleball. I just really want to do it. So the joke is they have at a place, they have a free lesson. And I have been trying for about 2 years to do this free lesson, but I try to do it when my little guy is gone to another place. And every single time something happens, my daughter has a dance or something, and I have to keep canceling. So again, this very Saturday, I had it scheduled. And then we had something else that came up, and I sat down with my family and I said, I love you. This is getting ridiculous. This is important to me. It's an hour and a half. Are you all good with this? And you know what's funny? They were completely, thoroughly supportive. I think sometimes we as women are like, I don't want to take time away from my family. I don't want to do too many things. And that is a very good point. And it's a very great consideration. We want to be
Mm-hmm,
balanced for sure. We
for
don't just
sure.
want to have 6,000 goals and we're just all about achieving those. But I love what you said, that as we do that, we list those. Oh my gosh, this energy comes and this excitement. And then again, you're sharing that with them, and then they can do that with you. So
Yes.
anyway, all right. So on the goals, as you do that, and you again, you mentioned that you started with speaking. Take us through a little bit of that journey. So you have this idea, say somebody else out there wants to be a speaker or a writer or do
Right.
something, share a message, whatever. What were the steps for you? Because it wasn't an A plus B equals C. What were some of those key steps for you and the goals that you set? And then maybe you achieved them, maybe you didn't, or maybe you
Mhm.
changed them.
So I feel like the first thing that I did is I had to speak about something that I'm passionate about, something that I felt qualified in, and that was goal setting for me. So my roots started back when I was a teenager when I did pageants, and I actually had you have what's called your platform, where something that you feel inspired to speak about. A lot of women will do like suicide prevention, girls will go speak on that, or drug addiction, and I spoke to teens on goal setting. So that's where it all began for me, is having that little platform, and I'd go to elementary schools and speak or different things. And I just realized, wow, I really love this. And it was funny because I actually spoke at an event when I was when I had a pageant title, and there was a man sitting in the audience, and he had just been called as a stake president at BYU for young single adults. And he heard me speak at this event. And he said, I need to know who that girl's dad is. And he actually called my dad to be his counselor, never knowing my dad, just from having me speak. And I feel like that was after hearing his stories doing that he wanted to know who my dad was just from hearing me speak. That's when I realized for the first time, like, wow, I actually might have a talent here. Like if somebody wants to get to know somebody because of a message that I shared, that was a huge confidence booster for me, is just having that validation from an outside source, someone that I've never met before. And it just, that planted a seed in me to think, wow, maybe I really could do something here. Maybe I really could change someone's life or help somebody through speaking. And so that's where it started for me, is just getting that validation, I think, from somewhere, choosing something I love to speak on. And then my journey just kind of started to snow. I had children, took a long break, and then I started to get back into speaking. And I'm like, I realized, you know what, if I want to speak, I need to be speaking if I'm saying a speaker. And I remember it was just before my 30th birthday, I decided to start an Instagram account, and I got on my stories and I was shaking, full body sweat, like underneath my clothes, just my body was sweating. And I was just like, hey, you guys need a speaker. I would love to come speak like for free at a church event or something, And several people reached out to me on the stories. And that's where my keynote began, is just me saying, I have to start speaking if I'm going to be a speaker. And I started doing my keynote, and I got several referrals just by word of mouth, starting speaking there. And then I came to your retreat, Connie, and I knew that after that, once I had started speaking again, that I wanted to up my credibility, because Dan Clark, one of the top 10 speakers in the world, said, why should people listen to you? So credibility as a speaker and then having an expertise as a speaker is something people are looking for. And so that's when I came to you, Connie, and I came to your retreat, and you had a speaking certification, which I got. I joined your leadership circle, and that has snowballed everything. And now I'm a paid speaker. And that, I told my husband just last night, I said, if I would have 3 or 4 years ago thought, if I could be a paid speaker in a couple years, how thrilled I would be. And I'm like, why am I not celebrating this? Like, this is huge. Like, looking back to where I was and where I am today, of course, I have visions of where I want to be. And I always feel uncomfortable where I am because I want to be better and grow. But I think, I need to stop and celebrate how far I have come, because my past self would have loved to have been in my shoes today, And so I think I just need to also, this is a good message for me and for all of us, but just enjoy and celebrate the little wins and where we're at today. So that's kind of been my journey. And I'm just trying to recognize and celebrate the process.
Such a beautiful concept. And I literally was just typing about that this morning, of The Gap and the Gain. It's a book by Dan Sullivan, ghostwritten by Benjamin Hardy. Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Got to put the whole thing in there. But I love how they talk about this research concept, how important it is that we don't just keep looking forward, but that we turn back and look at how far we've come. And like you said, celebrate that growth, that you had that goal, you had that desire, and now you've achieved it. Woohoo! There's always going to be more levels that you're going to do, but just to celebrate that now. So you decided how you're going to celebrate it? Did you talk to them about it?
No, but I need to. I haven't thought about how. I was actually doing a podcast yesterday with Cheryl Knowlton, and she said, she was talking about how she rejoices and celebrates in the little things, and how that her coach asked her, what are you doing to celebrate the little things? And she's like, well, I don't know. And so that has been on my mind just since yesterday. And I realized that's something that I need to do, that I need to celebrate. And I haven't honestly thought about it. So I did think that I needed to share that today, though, something that I'm working on. And I think we're all a work in progress. And that's one area that I would like to work on a little better.
All right. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to follow up with you on this. Like,
Okay.
What did you do? Check it back in a week and see what did you do to celebrate? I know mine's always like, I want to go to dinner. I always love it when someone makes dinner for me.
Me too.
After like 30 years of cooking for family and 7 kids, you're like, oh, someone cook for me.
Yes.
But I love that. Something simple too. It could be just being able to think about a lesson, or maybe it's just going out and sitting out for half an hour reading a book that you love. But for women listening, those goals that you set and achieve, and they're small, they're literally maybe like, it wasn't a big deal. I reached out and talked to this one person, or I posted this one post that I had made a goal to post. Those are all worthy of celebration, because they are all meaningful steps getting you where you're going to go. So let's let's talk about a woman's listening. She's like, oh, I want to be a speaker or a writer, or I want to do this goal. I want to lose weight. I want to be fit. I want to feel good. And then she makes that goal and she does it and she celebrates. We have what I've noticed as I started coaching women 25, 30 years ago. I noticed this pattern of we get this fervor. We feel the divine download. I'm going to do it. We have the energy. We're going. And then I noticed what I started calling the 2-week bomb. Somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks, we would just start to tank because we had this whole force behind it. And then something would happen. The child would get sick, something, a schedule would change, something would fall apart, and you'd be like, oh, we got to fix this. And then you'd be trying to get excited again. What do you recommend for when women feel kind of lost in their goals, beaten down by their goals, or just they're not seeing results, or they just feel like I just got disrupted? What are some tips or tools that you have for that?
I think this is so incredibly important. And I think you need to look going into your goals that this will happen. Like, not is it going to happen? It will, like 100%. So I want you to think, what is your support system surrounding this goal? That is everything. It truly is. Connie knows this story, but I'll briefly share it. When I joined her leadership circle, was working on my certification. I was hit with a bad case of vertigo that I've never experienced, and it wiped me out physically. And to be able to get back into my goals and to be working on that, to get back into my speaking, a huge piece of that was my peers and the leadership circle and being in that. Having people gently lift me along, remind me of what I'm working on to help support me. Because sometimes we just need that support that surrounds us. And even now, since I've graduated from the leadership circle, I have 2 ladies that I have an accountability group with. And every single week we share our goals with each other. We screenshot our goals and we share what we did last week. And we have check marks what we did and then what we're working on this week. And just that support and accountability of any kind, whatever your goal is, whether it's a health goal, a writing goal, a speaking goal, or a social media goal, whatever it is, to have that support system, someone checking in, someone to say, hey, here's what I'm doing, and let that motivate you to keep going too. If you have a walking partner and they're at your door at 6 a.m., like, you're going to get out of bed, So having that accountability beforehand, thinking, okay, this is the goal I want. What type of support do I need to help me accomplish it? Because the hard times will come and you're going to need that support to help you move forward.
Oh, that is so true. In fact, I'm just thinking about in our leadership circle, we do different tracks. And I was doing author track just yesterday. And after speaking at women's conference, they gave you the option of providing a transcript. So I've been hemming and hawing and, oh my gosh, who do I think I am that I can put a transcript out? And then that's different than just speaking at women's conference, because now you have to make sure you got all the footnotes, you're completely doctrinally correct, right? Anyway, I just have been putting it off and it's due. But I was meeting with the author track and I could not in good conscience put that off and then sit before them as an author expert, right? And challenge them on their goals and sit their bum in the chair and get their word count. And you know what? I sat down and did it 4,000 words in 2 hours, got it done right before we started author track. So you're exactly right.
Yeah.
That accountability. And then I saw as they were talking with each other, they're both working on books and different stages of that, but we were talking about marketing and the ideas that popped up. And well, what if you added this and this particular complimentary thing? And what about this? And oh my gosh, these beautiful marketing ideas that were like, that's genius. So it is huge to have that accountability plus the creativity. You have this bouncing ideas and you have to connect with each other. And I would add one more thing, that people who have like-minded values, because I've seen the importance where we tack on everything, what we do for him, and that really aligns the way we go about it. So you can be with groups that are like, hey, we're going to do these 10,000 words. We're going to do it no matter what, everybody, leave your life and just do this. But we are doing it as mom ands and putting him first. And that shifts the advice you get. That shifts the way you go about it and the kind of accountability you get. So I would add that whatever value system you have, that you align yourself with women who have those similar values, because then that support will actually get you where you need to go in the way you need to do it.
Absolutely. I love that. I agree wholeheartedly.
So I know our time is kind of winding down, but I would love, what would you say to a woman when she's doing a goal and she doesn't have support? So I know we know to get a support system for sure, but Sometimes women have, maybe it's a significant other or a loved one, a mother-in-law, a husband, whatever, that is just kind of not on board with the goals. Maybe
Yeah.
doesn't think it's the right time for her to do it or the way to do it or that she can even do it.
Right.
And because they're not in a space of maybe seeing possibilities, right? But if
Right.
a woman's got that divine download that she knows is what the Lord wants her to do, but she's got these things that are kind of pressing against her like that, that
Mhm.
opposition. Do you have any tool? This isn't just she's trying to do her goal and she's getting discouraged. This is there's clear opposition that is coming to her and making her self-doubt. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say to take President Nelson's recent advice and make your testimony your number one priority. Like more than even your goal. Like more than anything. Like um that's something that I've even been trying to do. And then he said, and then watch for miracles to happen in your life. For miracles. I sincerely have been even making a grander effort the past like few months to do that. And I have a big event coming up in June. And I have just felt like a crazy person like doing it. And I'm like, so one of those things like, why did I do this? It's just felt that crazy. But I sometimes I'll sit down to work on my stuff and I realize I haven't read my scriptures for the day because sometimes I'll read them at the end of the night. But even if my time is so tight, I'm like, no, if this is my top priority, I will have like scripture study before I work on anything for my event, like actual study, like not just like reading it. And then even this morning, I was supposed to be on another podcast this morning for an hour long. And I just was like, I don't have time to do this hour long podcast because my daughter's at preschool right now. I have so much to do for my event that has like deadlines for printing and all these things. And the podcast this morning had to cancel. And I was just like, that was a miracle. And I was like, this is my window. And I sat down and got so much done that I felt just a stress load just come off my head. And that was a mini miracle. And I thought, you know, I need to write this down because he said to watch for miracles. And the miracle I needed was time, that little window of time. Maybe the miracle you need is a change or softening of heart in someone in your family that doesn't support you. Maybe they will see your goal somehow in a different light. Maybe they'll come across someone or something that just softens a little piece of their heart that allows you a window to work on your goal when you make your testimony your first priority. So I feel like that would be the biggest thing that I would say.
Oh my goodness, I could not be more of a second witness on that. In fact, we were talking just the other day about how do we women, how are we able to do all that we do? And people have asked me, you know, you've done 18 books and you speak and you do all these things. And I'm still mostly here at home every day. And I'm definitely here every day to go pick up my son from school.
Mhm.
And so I look at that and I'm thinking with all the variables going, how does that work out every day? And I absolutely second what you said, that I have constantly had 5 hours of stuff to do and he helps me do it in an hour and a half. Either he
Right.
brings me someone or I find content that I didn't know I already done on that. And so it just shortened my whole ability, whatever it might be. Those blessings when we partner with the Lord and as mom ands, meaning we put our family first, we put our hand in the Lord's, we put our family first, and then we trust him that whatever mom's mites we bring him, he can do something with it and can do what's needed. I think you are spot on. And we find that as we do it that way, we're increasing our relationship and our ability to receive that revelation with the Lord as we go. It isn't something that's separate and we have to make time for, right?
Mhm.
This is all part and parcel of getting the Christ-like traits and the tools, the spiritual gifts, all the things we need to make this thing happen. That it's actually, he's more worried, not worried, more interested and concerned about who we're becoming than the June networking event night that you're doing, right? Than my
Right.
next retreat in June. He's really not too worried about that, or that's not the priority. The priority is who are we becoming and what are we doing? What good are we doing? So
Yes.
I love that concept. So let's talk for just a second. You started this networking night. We'll kind of wrap up with this. You started this. Was it last year was the first time or was it 2 years ago?
I want to say it was last year. Connie, I was thinking about that and I'm like, has it been two? I'm like, I swear I did one last year. I'm like, I honestly could not remember because time has gone by so fast.
Not have been that long, right?
I know.
But she did this first one. And I remember going to her house and she had taken all the furniture out of her house to make room for the women. She was like, well, I hope a few people come. It was sold out like that, right? And she had to put a cap on it and fit all the women. And it was beautiful and fun and amazing. And we were all like, okay, you got to do this again. And there are people that I'm working with now that I met at that networking event. So tell us about the thought behind this one this year.
Well, it honestly came from that last event that I had. I had so much positive feedback, and I saw women working together. I saw you working together with another lady you met there. I saw women who do books together, doing stuff on social media together and podcasting together. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this was so wonderful that all these connections came from that event. And I had people even tell me it's the best one they've ever been to because it was intimate too. That was the biggest feedback I got. So I decided to host another one. I did it slightly bigger. And so we're doing it at Artists and Co's Event Garden in this June. So I just decided to do another one because I love connecting with women. And I love that part of goal setting and just the speaking world is that you get to connect with so many wonderful people.
And you do such a fabulous job of that. You have such a great combo of being able to stand in your space, but let other women connect and be in their spaces too, and to make those relationships and form those relationships because they're just so huge, especially women in business. I've noticed this, that men tend to be kind of solitary and then they'll be in groups or packs or whatever. But we women really flourish and shine when we connect with others right from the get-go. We're wired for that connection and to help one another and build one another. And it goes so beautifully when we do that. I remember on your last one, remember Artist had her event, her garden brunch, and she needed, what was it, bark dust or fertilizer or what was it?
Yes, she needed some mulch for all of her flower beds.
For all, yes. And it was, after COVID or during COVID, whatever, nobody had it. And she couldn't get anything for love or money. And then you were talking together and you were like, oh, my husband's in construction. I can get it for you. Got just what you need, what she needed right at the last time. That's what happens with women supporting each other, that we're there for each other. We fill in the gaps and we help make it happen. So I love that. For women who are listening, I want you to think of one last tip that you'd love to share. But meanwhile, for women who are listening, what's the best way for them to contact you? The best way for them to reach you?
You can follow me on Instagram on @real_Ashlee Stratton, and it's Ashlee with 2 E's. You can also send me for booking stuff on my website, ashleestratton.com. And then I do have Facebook, Ashlee & Co. You can check out all those places. You can really get a hold of me at any of those places.
So fun and so fabulous. She speaks at almost every one of our retreats. It's just such a beautiful thing. She teaches about goal setting, and it is fantastic every single time. The learning, the motivation, the clarity, it's so good. So do you have one last tip that you haven't been able to share yet with the women that you really want to? Is there one last thing on goal setting as moms and as women, goal setting successfully?
Yeah, I think the last thing I would leave is to just be gentle with yourself as the rocks and the bumps come on your goal setting process. Just because you mess up once doesn't mean you can't try again tomorrow. And just because you hit it, you have a deadline for your goal and you don't reach it, doesn't mean you can't start again. And the process of that is really just having self-compassion and being kind to yourself and talking to yourself like you'd talk to a really good friend. So I feel like a lot of women get really hard on themselves mentally. And that's something I found in my interviews, that women just tend to beat themselves up so much in the process. So that's why I think I'd instead turn to that celebrating, turn to the fact that you even set a goal and you're even working towards it, and celebrate that. So just be gentle with yourself in the goal setting process, and it'll be a much smoother and more successful process.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much for being with us, Ashlee. I so appreciate it. You share beautiful gems today.
Thanks, Connie. This was awesome.
So fun. And again, if you want to reach out to her, she speaks to women entrepreneurs on goal setting, high performance, and mindset so they can pursue their passions without sacrificing what's most important. You can check her out at ashleestratton.com, right? And if you have loved this interview, check out our other Tuesday Spotlights. We have so many women that have been through the DTLC or that we've invited to come on and share the way that they've done their journey to help share something with you to help you on your journey. We want to help you move forward in living your purpose-filled life.